Today we're sitting down with Kerri Pottharst, Australian Olympic gold medalist, motivational speaker and athlete storytelling coach. Kerri has built a career telling her story of a gold medal win in Sydney 2000 Olympic Games. Her motivational speeches have inspired everyone from business leaders to school kids. She has now launched a business to help athletes recognise the power of their story and turn it into a business opportunity and a powerful tool to inspire others. Hello, Kerri.
Hi.
Every story has a setup, challenge and a resolution. What are the key components to an athlete's story?
Well, when you think about an athlete's story, it's often a hero's journey. It starts with a big event, or it starts with something that happens to that athlete. And then there's a choice point. Then there's a moment where the athlete has to decide to go this way or this way, whether they recover from an injury or decide to retire, or whether they have a realisation about themselves or their team or the sport that they're playing. And then it ends in something grand, or perhaps in a loss. It's still a great story because there's a lesson there, and it ends in something and a lesson. So it's a hero's journey.
Do you think it's the lesson that people really resonate with?
Yes, it's definitely the lesson that people resonate with, but often people want to be entertained a little bit along the way. They want to enjoy the journey. They maybe want to laugh a little bit with the athlete, cry a little bit about the losses, or maybe some of the down points in their life and their journey. But it's definitely the lesson that I think the athletes need to leave with their audience, because it's all about giving value. It's all about giving something back to the people that are listening to your journey. So it's not about narrating your story and just saying, I did this, then I did this, then I did this. It's about making it interesting, perhaps having a few laughs in there, and giving something that the audience can leave with, inspiring that audience with something an experience that the athletes have, and also maybe educating them in a way that perhaps the audience hasn't heard before with the athlete's story. So I think there are a number of things that athletes can give when they're explaining or sharing their story.
How easy do athletes find it to identify their story?
I think generally most athletes don't think they have a story. Now, you don't have to win a gold medal to have a story. You could come last, Eddie the Eagle. For instance, great story, a story about, resilience and persistence and never giving up, and, great story. But it's all about making sure that your story has some substance. So one of the most simple tips that I did, the simplest things that I did when I went to try and work out what my story was, is look back at photographs and remember the moments and remember the times and go, wow, yeah, I remember that. And I remember where we were at the time. I remember the situation, and I remember what we did to get this outcome. And that becomes the story.
How easy do athletes find it to be entertaining?
The biggest thing I believe that makes an athlete a successful storyteller is to be authentic. And if the athlete generally has an entertaining, vibrant personality, they need to show that. If the athlete is shy and perhaps a little more serious, then of course they need to show that as well. I don't think it's a good idea if you're a shy, more serious type person to try and entertain and be funny, and vice versa. I think you just need to be yourself. And there is I don't believe there's any real style in which an athlete should tell their story. There's a structure in the content of the story, but the delivery of that story should be very authentic and very you, rather than trying to copy somebody else.
Lots of people have talked about how there's events in 2020 have caused us to kind of look for more authenticity in our leaders, in our work community, and being genuine about our home setup, because we're all sitting at the end of Zoom and you can see our kids and our cats walking past. Do you think there's more of an opportunity for athletes to tell their authentic story now?
I think after 2020, many athletes will have some pretty interesting stories. Definitely have some stories about resilience and bouncing back, staying focused on their goals, even teamwork, because it's been very difficult for a lot of teams to actually feel like they're together because they're all at home and they're on Zoom and, they're doing their training individually. So there'll be some really creative things that athletes have done in 2020 to try and stay connected with their teams. And that'll come out in their stories for sure, and that should come out in their stories, because those sorts of lessons will most definitely help people in the future and inspire people and inspire other athletes. And those lessons can obviously be, aligned to or applied to business as well as personal lives.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about the fact that team sports are not being able to be together and train together for a lot of this year. It'd be interesting to see what impact that has on teams down the track.
And I think the athletes that are going to come out of 2020 stronger are the ones that have really worked on themselves. And I know it's very cliche to say, it's time for me to work on myself and, do all this maybe personal development or whatever, but I think it's a massive strength for any athlete to have that inner strength and to be able to come through 2020. If you can get through 2020 and you can still be competing and in competition mode in 2021, then you can pretty much get through anything.
How important is storytelling to your business and clients?
Storytelling is obviously everything for my business. My business is motivational speaking, and I've had to learn over the years how to turn a situation that I've experienced into a lesson, into an entertaining story. Get the audience to be able to see it, and then get them to hear it. Talk about the noises, what it sounded like.
Ladies and gentlemen, goal is up for grabs at Pottharst.
I could hear the waves rolling in when the crowd died down and I'm holding the ball. Then maybe the smell, you could smell the sea air as the wind started to pick up. And then the touch. The leather on the ball was really shiny. It'd come off Natalie's arm, the sweat off her arm, and as I picked up the ball, it kind of almost slipped out of my hands. So bringing those senses in really connects you more with the audience as you're telling the story. So I've learnt those processes just through experience. I'm starting to understand now how to teach them to other people, but I actually never got taught them. I learnt them along the way, and I learnt a lot of them from listening to other storytellers. Go to somebody who already does what you want to do really well, go to the best and learn from them. So I listened to other people, and I remember the first time, I think I was listening to, I think he was a businessman telling a story, and he had pictures of his family up on the slides, and it was just so nice to hear him tell a story about his family, although it was a business corporate event. And that's when I realised how I had to really personalise my story, and I scoured through all my photo albums, and I picked some great photos that would really bring out who I was and the lessons along the journey. And I found some great images that I included into my slide deck, I guess. So it took me a while to understand how to tell a good story. But I do think, 80% of it is content. We hear it's all about the delivery and you should put your hands like this and the voice like that. But I actually believe a lot of it is about the content. And then when you deliver it, these days, it's all about being authentically you and just being very natural and having fun with it. I like to have a lot of fun when I tell my stories, because it relaxes me as well. If the audience are laughing, so I come out telling a story that's actually a little bit funny, and then, it relaxes me into the whole next 45 minutes or an hour, because, I'm feeling connected with the audience.
So what does a room feel like when you're telling a great story and you know that it's resonating with the people in the room?
I can feel the energy in the room. I can see people's eyes. They're locked on me. If people are looking around or maybe looking at their phones or itching their head or whatever, I can see that my story's not landing. So I might quickly get out of that story and go into another one. And it could be the way I'm delivering it, or it could be that I've forgotten the punchline or something like that, the most important part. But when I feel like the audience is just hanging on every word, I can feel that they're connected with me. They're sitting forward, their eyes are open. They're looking, there's no sound in the room, you could hear a pin drop, and that's when I really start to have really dramatic pauses. So there's a few little techniques that I've learnt that I've probably done, again, accidentally, but I've learnt as well over the years, where, I could just pause on something, or I can embellish something and really bring the senses in. So if I feel they're connected, I'll describe the situation in greater detail if I've got time. And sometimes I don't have time, so I have to really pick my words well. But it doesn't always come out the same, because, again, I think It's very important to script your story out and really embed it in your brain, but then you've just got to let it come out naturally.
It's an amazing moment when you feel that you've held everyone in the room and you know that they're captured by, and you feel kind of spellbound in a way that you know that they're hanging on your every word. It's a very special moment.
I love it when I'm telling a story and everybody's just hanging on that every word and they're sitting with me, and then I drop this most unusual clanger in there and they're all like, what'd she just say? And then they burst out laughing. I like the surprise element, that they think it's something that's building up, and then you just drop something really funny in there. I like to hear people laugh. I love that feeling of connection. It makes me feel comfortable, makes me feel good. I don't tell jokes as such, but I say things in a way sometimes that I know that I'm going to get a good laugh, and it just feels better.
What stories are being told well by athletes in 2020, do you think?
I think there are a lot of topics that athletes can really use their story to bring to life or to inspire or educate people. I think obviously, resilience and setting goals and achieving goals, especially if the athlete has a big win of some sort under their belt. But also just, being able to bounce back, because, in some sports there are so many losses. You in our sport, in one game, we win a point, we lose a point, we win a point, we lose a point. So it's all about how you recover quickly from that loss. And so you learn techniques to deal with that. I think just being dedicated, committed, there's some great stories in there, and just never giving up. You can almost add any sort of topic in, and any athlete will have a story about that topic, I'm pretty sure, because an athlete's journey really is peppered with so many different incidences and wins, losses, as I said, injuries. So many athletes have got some incredible injury stories, things that you and I would think, oh my God, let alone just get over that injury, but how could you come back and play again and then win through that? So just, the hardships that most athletes have had to go through, there's some pretty powerful stories there. And I think to be able to get the audience to relate to that, you need to find out who your audience is. You need to work out who are you talking to, and how can you align your message to make it land for that audience. Because sometimes if you're not careful, it can go over the head of an audience and they go, oh, it's a great story, but it doesn't really apply to me. So that's what I've learnt over the years as well, is to really make sure that my story actually can then be told and apply to the group that I'm talking to. So that takes preparation.
Where do you think there are opportunities for athletes to tell different stories to what are being told?
Athletes start by dreaming about something grand in their sport, dreaming of winning gold medals or winning championships or running the fastest race. It starts with a dream, then they actually do it. So dream it, then do it. And then I think the third key component in an athlete's journey, an athlete's life, is then to share it. First of all, I think it's great to be able to inspire and educate and entertain audiences with some great sporting stories. But secondly, as a retired athlete, it's really valuable to be able to reminisce every other week about some successes in your life. And an athlete's journey, when that ends, it's pretty difficult sometimes to work out, well, what now? And so we hear a lot about transition of athletes and how, it's not been a great journey, the transition part of transitioning into normal life. And so to be able to recount your successes and talk about the lessons that you learnt, what ends up happening is it gives you confidence, and then those lessons embed themselves in my future. In my life. So the things that I talk about on stage, I'm actually doing them in my normal life. It really is a whole nother journey, being a retired athlete and finding, who you are and what your purpose is. Like the moment you see someone's light bulb switch on, I can literally see it in their face. When they're listening to a story and I deliver the message in sometimes it's not even obvious, but they hear the message and you can feel them kind of take it in. And they're the people that come up to me afterwards and say, when you said that, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this now, or I'm going to do that now. I feel like I can, achieve this. And that's the best, that's the best prize that I can get after standing on a stage and sharing my story. a company wants to talk a lot about teamwork, so I'll really focus on teamwork. If a company wants me to talk about resilience, like at the moment, or pivoting or whatever, changing up things or bouncing back, then I'll really focus on that part of my journey. But at the end of the journey, it always ends with the gold medal. Doesn't matter how I tell the story, it always ends.
That's always the good bit.